And hide and seek, you hide, and I'll definitely find you. In our first YouTube video. I welcome you all, I'm Rivon, and I hope you're all doing well and in good spirits. It's the Halloween month, and in this month, like I always say, it's just a reminder for all of you. As I mentioned last week, this is just an occasion where we want to share some good stories with you. This is an occasion when the entire world has a festive mood. We don't want to connect this with anything serious, no beliefs, no superstitions, nothing of that sort. Since we work in this genre, we deal with dark content, and as our stories have elements of fear, we thought we'd ask you to send us stories on the occasion of Halloween. We hope you'll send your stories and help us. You can send your stories to our email address at putaleap@gmail.com. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. Now let's move on to our first story. I hope you all will like it. Peace be upon you, Rivon Brother. I know you're doing well and always in good spirits, so I won't ask how you're doing. I've been listening to Shadows of the Unknown since 2015, and now I regularly listen to Shadows of the Unknown. Listening to these stories has become such a habit for me that I often fall asleep to them. My name is Mohammad Imran, and I'm currently a third-year B.Sc CSE student at a private university. My home is in Jamtail village under Kamarkhand Thana in the Sirajganj District. However, I completed my SSC from my maternal grandfather's house in a village in Chandmohar, Pabna District, as my parents worked in Dhaka and couldn't give me much time. Since I had an uncle of the same age, I was left with my grandparents and aunts for my education. Now, let's get to the actual story. This is a real incident that happened to me. At the time, I was an 8th grade student. After finishing my JSC exam, I visited Dhaka to see my parents. After staying there for about 20 days, I was on my way back home from Dhaka's airport railway station, heading towards Chandmohar. However, due to some issue at Ulapara station, the train was delayed. I finally arrived at Chandmohar station at around 11:40 p.m. It was wintertime. After arriving at the station, I needed to take a van to Chakmahal New Bazaar and then another van from the New Bazaar to the village. But there were no vans available, and the few that were there refused to go that far so late at night. I sat on a bench at a tea stall waiting for a van. Around 11:48 p.m., a van loaded with jute arrived. The driver was heading to a village called Horipur, and after much persuasion due to the cold and the late hour, he agreed to drop me at the New Bazaar. I sat on top of the jute and held on tightly. After about 2 hours, we reached the New Bazaar, where I paid him 100 taka for the fare. However, when I got there, I couldn't find any vans for the rest of my journey. It was 1:57 a.m. by then. A night watchman in the market suggested that I wait until dawn because I might get scared walking alone. He offered to walk with me to the graveyard, but I refused, saying I knew the road well as I traveled it regularly. The road was familiar to me, so I didn't feel scared. The road from the new market to my home passed by a large bamboo grove, an orchard, and a graveyard. I started walking alone, and halfway through the bamboo grove, I noticed someone ahead of me. I called out a few times, but the person didn't stop. Instead, they called back to me saying, "Nephew, come along, there's nothing to worry about." Thinking they were headed the same way, I felt a bit relieved, but I couldn't catch up to them no matter how fast I walked. As I approached the graveyard, I realized the figure was growing larger in size. At that moment, I understood it wasn't a person. Fear overwhelmed me as I saw the figure's white, glowing eyes staring at me from the graveyard. I lit the matchstick the night watchman had given me, but the figure disappeared. When I reached the tamarind tree by the graveyard, the figure appeared again. It slowly moved towards me, and I couldn't move or scream. Suddenly, I heard someone calling my name, Imran, from behind. It was my friend Omar, telling me not to be scared. With his help, I managed to walk back home, though I was still terrified. The next morning, I found out that Omar hadn't actually been with me. When I told him what happened, he said he had been at home that night. Later, I spoke to the local imam, who told me that an evil spirit had long haunted the tamarind tree, and others had seen it too. That's my story. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll continue to send in your own stories. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a comment for this brother to encourage him.